today we are making a matcha green tea no-bake cheesecake. That rhymes. And let's get started. Okay, so we're starting with the base of the cheesecake first. So we're gonna get some graham crackers, pop them into a mini little, I mean, it doesn't have to be mini, food processor, and pulse until they are a fine crumb. And then we're going to add some matcha green tea powder because everything is going to be matcha in this cheesecake. And then we're adding some butter and mix that all together. And then I pour that into a 9-inch springform pan. Springform pans are really, really important. If you've never made cheesecake before, this is the kind of pan that you want to buy because like the cake isn't gonna be sturdy enough for you to like flip it out because it will just collapse and it will be awful. And this is a cool little trick if you want a nice flat base. And then I popped that into the fridge while I made the filling. So the filling, oh my gosh, I'm sure like all of you are like so sick of this because I've made it like a million times, but I haven't made it since I've like come back onto YouTube, so I feel very nostalgic making this mix. So I started with some cream cheese and then added some sugar. And then on top of that, I added some whipping cream. I know this looks like a lot, but it's so good. It's so creamy. I promise it's worth it. And then some lemon juice. So the lemon juice, you want half a cup, and that is the equivalent of roughly like 2 lemons. And then I'm gonna add some vanilla. So if you can't have gelatin because it's made from pork, you don't have to use it. You can just like skip this step, and then I'm gonna show you what to do when it's time to set the cheesecake. But if you want to use gelatin, we're gonna get the gelatin and pour it into a little cup of water. Let it sit for a couple minutes for the gelatin to develop, and then microwave it for like 30 seconds until it's liquid. Now, don't microwave it in a bowl that is this tiny. Gelatin likes to like explode, not explode, but it like bubbles in the microwave. And so if you're using a small dish, it's gonna like get everywhere. And then you have to like remix it because like you don't know what quantity spilled over and you want it to set the proper way. So use a bigger bowl than I'm using right now, which is like, oh man, when I was creating content for Taste Me, that was like the main comment on like Facebook whenever people watch my videos. It's like, she needs bigger bowls. And they were right. I did and still do. Apparently nothing has changed. So we're just gonna mix that together and not add the matcha just yet. To create that really pretty ombre effect, what we're gonna do is divide the cheesecake into 3 bowls. And in the first bowl, which is going to be our bottom layer, you wanna add about 2.5 tablespoons of the matcha powder. And then in the second bowl, I added 1 tablespoon. And then in the third bowl, I was going to add some, and then I decided not to because I wanted it to be like a very distinct layer. And you wanna make sure that you give it a good kind of hefty stir because the matcha can take some time to fully dissolve. I learned that firsthand when I tried making matcha French toast, and I should have dissolved it first in like milk or something, but I didn't, and I just like added it straight in. Everyone on Instagram thought it was weed. So you can go check it out and see my learning experience. So do that, and then we are going to pour the darkest layer on first. And then to get it right to the sides, you can just jiggle your pan and it will spread so nicely. I discovered that this time. I've made this cake a million times, but I'm like, ooh, this works. It's like new to me. And before we add the second layer, you wanna pop it back into the fridge for like 10 minutes so that when we're pouring the second layer on top, it doesn't just like into the bottom layer. Do the little wiggle into the fridge for 10 minutes, and then now the final layer. And then I let it set overnight. And going back to what I said about before with the gelatin, if you don't want to use gelatin, pop it into the freezer instead of the fridge. And it doesn't have to be overnight, I think like 3 or 4 hours, and that will give you the firmer set that you need the cheesecake to be to slice it without the addition of gelatin. So there's a couple tricks to unmold the cheesecake. So first is you have a warm, like a hot, damp dishcloth, and run it along the outside of the pan just to kind of soften the outside edges of the cheesecake. And then get a sharp knife and then run it along the inside of the pan. And you can see, I shot a little bit on my phone, you can see the angle, and that'll make sure that you don't actually like cut into the cake when you are like sliding it around. Now you can see I kind of failed here when I unhinged it, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be like the perfect shot for Instagram, and like I struggled. But then we're just gonna rotate the cake and nothing happened. How yummy does this look? Thank you all so much for watching and making the cheesecake with me. Go check out the matcha French toast. It actually tastes good even though it looks kind of weird. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday for a new video.